Welcome back to the channel. This is Maxwell Lumumba Africa, and this discussion I'm going to speak about a legal angle because I've seen a lot of people coming on camera asking that why has this culprit who did this has not been arrested. So tonight I want us to step back from the emotions and look at this case through the lens of law, because a young YouTuber is dead. That is Mayani. And the big question is not what happened, but what happened next legally. If someone stabbed him, what charges are we looking at? Who is responsible for these and why? Is there still no arrest? Let me say this. Already, there is a suspect who was mentioned.
Asked about who is this kind of the person who has stabbed him. The person who has stabbed him is the cousin to the young ladies who I'm helping at Magebo's position. Then I know them. They are from the family members. I know them. They're from the one, we can call it the one clan. And we are from the one clan, me and them. And I asked about, where is the gentleman again? Because he has stabbed him. I thought about Mayani has been stabbed maybe into the stomach or somewhere else. So Mayani had been stabbed at the thigh. At the, I talk about around the public area. He had been stabbed there. Then he was oozing. Talk about this kind of the pulmonary veins that are passing, and also the main veins. The aorta is maybe passing through that kind of an area. The main veins. So it had been cut. So it was oozing blood like something else. The blood was rampant everywhere. When we are speaking, we don't have the hospital that can take care of an emergency or a casualty at the moment. That's why you see so many people are losing their lives. It's they're like, we need that money, as we want to see the money. They think about people are not having money or what's the problem. I told them, take the person who has called you, it's the hospital. So you make sure that we are here and I'm accompanying you. We just go and we're going to be handling the matter. I will pay the money whenever we reach there. There's no problem. Then that's the time the driver had me and talked about, okay, ignited, and we started the journey. With that intention of stabbing him to death. I don't know if they are targeting the minions of Gintu or what was the problem. Was it the YouTube platform? I don't imagine if it was.
And talked about him, where he went to search that individual at his homestead. That individual was not there. He even took the mom to where Mayani was, and that tells us something, that even this suspect knew that he has committed these. And let me say this: Nyabohanse Isbania is next to the border post. Maybe this suspect is on run. That is what I can say. And you say, once you come from near border post, yeah, sometimes people commit crimes and they escape to the other country. That is what has been happening. And before we speculate even about somebody running to the near country, because some people will be asking some other question, let me say this. Before I get further, let me be clear. Everything I'm discussing is based on available reports and statements. And this issue is supposed to be handled with authorities, not that we now speculate this is the suspect. Now you want people to go and arrest this suspect. That is not how this thing is being handled, because no one is guilty until proven in court. But the law gives the framework to understand what should happen in this case. Is like this. Let me say this, and I'm going to talk about the possible criminal charges that this suspect can be taken. Yeah, let me start with the most important question about all these. Is a person, if actually it is like if a person stabs another person and that person dies, what is the charge? Under Kenyan law, this falls under murder or manslaughter. Murder applies if there was intent, meaning if the attacker intended to kill or knew their action would likely cause death. But if it was a fight, a sudden quarrel without pre-planned intent, then it may be classified as under manslaughter. And the distinction is very important because murder carries the heaviest penalty. So while manslaughter depends on the circumstances. There before, I saw a YouTuber who came on camera and said that the uncle did what we call the manslaughter and he was released. That is why I'm saying that manslaughter has not, as actually it carries weight, but as compared to the murder cases, yeah, at least for manslaughter as compared now to the murder cases. So let me talk about my take when it comes to the location of the injury. And here is where things become very serious. Report says that the stab was actually near the upper thigh, close to the major blood cells near the private part. So that means this is the artery that distributes blood to the likes of the private part that was tampered with. And medically and legally, this matter because targeting a sensitive area can be interpreted as intent to cause serious harm, and in the court that can push a case closer to the murder charges rather than manslaughter. So the situation that we are handling right now, actually this kind of a murder case, that is what I can really tell us about. But let the authorities take control about this situation. And let me clear something here about failure to arrest. And this something that brings a lot of public concern, which is people are raising in the platform. The suspect is said to be known, yet no arrest has been confirmed legally. If there is a reasonable suspicion, police are expected to act. They can arrest, investigate, and present the suspect before the court within the required time. So the delays raise questions. Is there insufficient evidences, or is the investigation still ongoing? Because by yesterday evening, it was said that the suspect was not even at home. So this tells us the docket of DCI have to trace this individual who has been suspected and bring the suspect on board. So that means today nobody has been taken to the court, so there is no accusation. So we are just trying to see how this all this thing will be going, because even for me it is very emotional. Even doing videos, you get that you become like, should I do video or I should not do video? Another thing that has been brought on board is about the hospital, the negligence, which is a very important angle. And I have to talk about how many people are now asking that could this death be prevented legally? This is something called medical negligence. If a patient arrives bleeding and proper emergency care is delayed, the question can be raised. For example, was first aid administered immediately? Was bleeding controlled? Was transfer done urgently? If a court finds the delay contributes to the death, there can be legal consequences, but proving this requires medical reports, expert testimony, and a full investigation. Let me say this and bring it to the camera very clearly. This is a professional angle, and let me say this: when it comes to a professional angle, there is nowhere in this world, unless you prove to me otherwise, a doctor pinning down another doctor, a veterinarian pinning down another veterinarian. I came on camera when my aunt died. I said it very well. My aunt died because of negligence of the doctors, the medics. When I said that, I had my various reasons. But me taking this to court, it is like I'm going to spend money without justice. The point that I was bringing in is this. I'm a doctor. This is another doctor. Me as a doctor, I've been negligence. I've performed, actually, I've done something like negligence. Then this patient dies. At the end of the day, a medical report is supposed to be gotten from that other doctor. An expert testimony should actually be gotten from somebody who knows about this thing. So there is nowhere, because today is me, like maybe Dr. somebody. Tomorrow maybe it will be him. So this other doctor won't bring evidence to justify that this person died because they bled to death. That is the point that I wanted to bring. So handling professional things tends to be kind of difficult, but still another issue that I can be telling the subscribers, if it was not for this stabbing, this person who stabbed Mayani, the issue about bleeding to death won't be there. So this tells us that let the culprit be arrested, let him be charged with this offense. Because if we take this other angle about negligence, because I've seen some people trying to compare about maybe the facilities in Kenya and other countries. It is so unfortunate that we found ourselves. I was born in Kenya. I found myself in Kenya in the village. Nothing else I can do. I can't travel here because, okay, we could not fly Mayani from maybe the village, maybe to abroad or where, because this was something that was very, very complicated. It went ahead, even Gintu himself was told to go and get Mayani's SHA, the social health insurance. So this tells us that sometimes, not even sometimes, in Kenya, we can say that now it is very evident. I remember a friend of mine asked me a very serious question one day, and I responded to him. He asked me that, in Kenya, can you get medication without money? I told him, sometimes you can, but sometimes you don't. But 99% you have to pay money is when you get treated. Then I told him this. Look, this is how even our hospitals work. Before even you enter to the consultation room, you have to pay fees for consultation. Yeah, you have to pay first. Is when sometimes, I'm not saying that this is 100% what is happening. At the end of the day, you have to pay so as to get services. You have to pay so that you get medicine. Nobody will give you that, take this medicine, go swallow, go take this pill, then you'll be paying later. Nobody does that. So this tells us that even though like emergency case like this, somebody was now there asking for money, the ambulance driver knows very well that if I don't ask for money right now, when I take this patient to the hospital, this burden will be forwarded onto this driver. So this raises a lot of questions. What is happening maybe in those in other countries, especially maybe in the West? Because I came back on camera and said that something like a first aid was the first thing that was supposed to, especially from the point that Mayani, before even Mayani was being carried to the motorcycle, something like first aid was supposed to be done to control the bleeding. That never happened. Even I talked about making I was told it is called torn equate, something of sort. Yeah, somebody has texted me in the comment section telling me about that. At least we learn every day. I know how to spell it, and I know how to now when it comes to pronunciation, it happens very, because some words are very hard. Let me talk about the ambulance delay, because I'm now talking to the legal implication. The issue of asking money before transport is also very serious, because this is an emergency case. Delay can cost lives legally. If it is proven that refusal or delay worsen the situation, that could form part of negligence claim. But again, it has to be proven with evidence. Still, I'm taking back you to the doctors, yeah? You must be having evidence from medical report. Which doctor will write a report? I own a hospital, for example. This another doctor owns another hospital. How can I write a report to these other hospital, but because of negligence, and I don't know, today it is me, tomorrow it's somebody else. So this raises serious questions. Let me talk about speculations versus the law. And this is very important. Let us take this issue very seriously, because now I want to address it very importantly. And there are many speculations online, people naming suspects, connecting the dot from one point to another, but legally that is dangerous, because accusing someone publicly without evidence can amount to defamation. So, while we ask questions, we must allow investigations to take their due course. Let me say this about the pattern and the motive. There are also claims that he had reported threats before. Land issues, conflicts, if proven, this could help investigation establish motives. In YouTube streets, and I'm sorry to say this, a lot of issues have been happening in Nyabuhansi village. People take those things for views. Let me believe that when these threats were happening to Mayani reported to police station, because I myself, in a video before the demise of Mayani, I came on camera, I say this: I don't forgive. If you try to do for me anything, the next step that I'll be taking is to report the issue. Let us solve our issues legally, not about camera, not about getting views, I've seen that before. The other time, the guy who was beaten by one of the YouTubers was arrested with the policeman, came on camera crying, nothing happened. A lot of things have happened last week. People just do that for views. But for me, I won't be doing anything because of views. I don't even want those views, because what are those views helping me when it comes to my life? Nothing. These are message to all the YouTubers, because it has now become an habit that today this happens, tomorrow this other happen. Even somebody came to the camera and said that this is karma, this happened because of this. Yeah, let me say this: it's better that nobody has come to the streets, YouTube streets. Nobody has threatened me, because I won't take that lightly. So I was saying that, let me believe that Mayani reported everything to the authorities when he was being threatened by one of the officers. He went to the police station, reported this issue, because the law says that nobody is above the law. Even when you are here, you have maybe almost the higher rank. We have seen even people reporting presidents. We have seen presidents being jailed. We have seen heads of police services or security officers being jailed. We have seen them losing their jobs. So this tells us nobody is above the law. And this could help investigators establish the motive. But until confirmed, that remains allegations. Let me say this, what should happen next. And this is the clear expectation that I'm going to give us. So, what should happen now? And it should be step by step. Police have the mandate to conduct a full investigation, arrest any suspect with sufficient evidence, present the case to court. Sometimes you get that they don't have sufficient evidence, so that means the people who are conducting that investigation, they have to go to court and tell them that we need more time so that to get full evidence or sufficient evidence about these individuals. So, and they have to present medical reports to determine the cause of the death. The reason why these actually the other healthcare was much hesitated because of this issue is when it comes to determine the cause of death. The medical reports bring a lot of issues. When I came on camera and said that my aunt was rejected, we are at the hospital gate, but still she was rejected to be admitted to that hospital. That tells us that if in case we could raise this question about negligence and everything, maybe about how death happened, you see, it could be bringing some further problems to this health facility. Let me say this. They have to bring the witness statements, restricted events, what happened. Only then will the truth come out legally. Let me say this about human plus legal balance. Behind all these legal terms is a human life, a family, a pregnant wife, and justice. It's not just about punishment, it is about the truth, accountability, and closure. Let me say this. Let me ask you, based on what we know so far, do you think this case is a murder or manslaughter? And do you think or do you believe the system is doing enough? Let us discuss, because things are happening, but let us be responsible. Rest in peace, the General Mayani. May your soul rest in peace. Goodbye. Let us stay tuned for other videos.